After bandaging a tycoon's hidden wounds, 100 devoted men surprised her with an incredible gift. Emma Taylor paced her small office, heart racing. The sterile smell of antiseptic mingled with the faint sound of distant conversations echoing through the hospital corridors. The news hit her like a ton of bricks. Richard Novak, the powerful tycoon whose face graced financial magazines, was a patient in her care. She had seen how his wealth could insulate him from reality, and she felt an instinctual need to break through the fortified walls he had built around himself. Would he allow her to dig deeper, uncovering the layers of hurt behind his armor? As she prepared for his examination, doubt crept in. Was she enough? Too often, she'd counted the eyes watching, the whispers stinging like tiny needles in her skin. Did she belong in this world, dominated by men who only lightly brushed the surface of medicine, their egos inflated by unearned respect? Now faced with a titan of industry, fear twisted within her, a silent scream. She was a late bloomer. In her 40s, she had fought tooth and nail to claim her identity and respect as a surgeon, often ignoring her internal monologue of disbelief. After a meticulous examination, Emma's compassionate approach began to chip away at Richard's facade. She noticed how he tensed at the mention of vulnerability. He revealed little, but each observation encouraged her intuition. There was more to him than the billions he amassed. Flashes of pain lurked in his eyes, reminding her of her own struggles. Richard seemed burdened by emotional scars he couldn't vocalize, a fraction of the man who tasted success at the cost of personal connections. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the days that followed, an unexpected connection blossomed. Two souls wrestling with their scars. But Richard carried something that felt heavier, more complex. When he emerged from surgery, the gratitude in his eyes pierced through her. But when the gala announcement unfolded, the weight of impending recognition pressed down on her. A mysterious scholarship fund for underprivileged aspiring doctors was to be established in her name, a gesture that felt both flattering and insurmountable. Would that shift her focus from healing those in need to standing on a stage, basking in luxury and praise? Emma's pulse quickened with anxiety. Was it right to be celebrated when her greatest fulfillment lay in the quiet victories of her everyday work? She felt torn, as if accepting this honor would brand her as someone who sought glory rather than a humble healer devoted to her patients. The weight shifted, pressing against her chest, as visions of her early days replayed in her mind, an ardent flame that had ignited her passion. By the time the gala loomed near, she found herself lost, a conflict raging within, driven by the ghosts of her insecurities. What if it changed her narrative? What if the adoration enviably spotlighted her for the wrong reasons? As the evening approached, a timid knock interrupted her turmoil. Standing at her door were familiar faces, those she had safeguarded and nurtured. Their faith in her surged forth, igniting something she thought long buried. As they shared stories of hope sparked by her unwavering dedication, Emma felt the magnitude of her decision rise. The scholarship's legacy, intertwined with her identity, hung in the air like an unanswered question. Could she bear the weight of such recognition? Would it liberate others or bind her closer to the chains she fought so desperately to shatter? The dilemma loomed larger than ever, leaving her breathless with anticipation of the choices ahead. Emma stood at the window of her office, looking out at the cityscape. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue that softened the harsh lines of sprawling buildings. As she absorbed the moment, a cacophony of thoughts surged through her mind. Each thought was significant, intertwining her past struggles and her current reality. The impending recognition she feared would overshadow her true purpose. The earlier faces of those she cared for still lingered in her mind, each one a reminder of why she had pursued medicine. They were her beacon, the vulnerable seeking solace, healing, and guidance. The joyous memories of her early days as a resident surged alongside the agonizing events that had tested her resolve. Emma remembered the late nights spent poring over textbooks, the stress of attending surgeries, and how the taste of success was often tinted with self-doubt. Would the gala and scholarship fund ultimately validate her accomplishments or strip her of her authenticity? The thought alone sent tendrils of panic creeping into her chest again. She'd devoted herself to her craft, insisting on the importance of humility in healthcare. Was she ready to be the center of attention, a symbol of achievement for others? 2 days before the gala, amidst her turmoil, Emma's phone buzzed with a message from Richard. When you find yourself lost, sometimes it helps to look within. The message, simple yet profound, felt like a lifeline thrown into her internal storm. But what he didn't know was how difficult it was for her to sift through the layers to find that core strength. She needed clarity, a way to reconnect with her purpose. Emma resolved to spend the next morning volunteering at a community health event. Interacting with patients free from the burdens of reputation could ground her. It was there, in those moments of compassion and service, that she often felt most fulfilled. The following day, she found herself surrounded by laughter and gratitude. Young children with scraped knees, elderly patients sharing stories of resilience. Each interaction was a thread weaving her spirit back together. A mother who had just learned she was expecting brought tears to Emma's eyes. In that moment, reflecting on the profound joys of life outside her professional accolades, she felt the tension ease. Would it not be worth it to share her journey, to uplift the next generation of doctors? She recognized that the scholarship was not about her. It was a platform to amplify her commitment to helping those yearning for opportunities. This perspective soothed her frayed nerves. Maybe accepting the honor wouldn't signify a shift in her dedication. Instead, it could be a chance to inspire more change outside the confines of the hospital walls. As the time for the gala drew closer, Emma began to feel a budding sense of anticipation rather than dread. Just hours before the event, seated in front of her mirror, she stared at her reflection. There she was, an experienced surgeon, a compassionate healer, yet still carrying the weight of her insecurities. Tonight would test her. The moment was approaching, not just to stand under the spotlight, but to embrace who she was and what she represented. The moment to embrace vulnerability and say yes to an opportunity to elevate others' dreams was here. She took a deep breath, determined to confront the night with authenticity rather than obligation. Before she walked out the door, an unexpected apprehension snagged at her resolve. Were the chains of doubt truly loosening, or was she merely disguising them behind a more colorful facade? Tonight would be revealing in ways she hadn't anticipated, and as she closed the door behind her, she realized the moment of truth was just around the corner. Would she ultimately step into the light, or would the shadows of doubt pull her back? As Emma stepped into the gala, the grand hall enveloped her with a swirl of excitement and whispered accolades. The room was aglow with golden lighting, laughter, and clinking glasses. It felt like stepping into a world painted by her own anxieties. Expectations hung palpable in the air, and despite the radiant smiles of well-wishers, she felt as if she were walking through an elaborate maze designed to ensnare her. She glided through the crowd, offering polite nods and rehearsed smiles, but the voices around her faded into a distant hum. Instead, her mind was in turmoil. Was she a fraud, mingling among these luminaries? Each accolade bestowed upon her swirled around in her head, igniting embers of self-doubt. But tonight, she had promised herself it would be different. Tonight was not merely for her. Richard's words echoed, a gentle reminder. Look within. But where inside her could she find that unwavering strength? Every step she took felt like wading deeper into a murky pond, unsure of the depths or dangers beneath the surface. As she joined a small group of colleagues, the conversation shifted toward the challenges of balancing personal life and career. Despite the light atmosphere, Emma felt the tension of unacknowledged struggles between ambition and personal fulfillment. How do we present ourselves to the world yet remain true to who we are? She pondered. The question resonated with her, bringing forth memories of her patients, their vulnerability, their open hearts. She thought of the mother she had comforted just days before, the joy in those eyes reflecting the miracle of new life, standing in stark contrast to the high stakes of her own professional accolades. It was a powerful truth, one she had nearly forgotten in the glare of ambition. Amidst the chit-chat, a figure approached, Mr. Hargrove, a notable philanthropist in the medical field. His presence immediately commanded attention. "Emma, I've been looking forward to meeting you," he said, extending a hand. His eyes sparkled with ambition and the weight of expectation. "Thank you, Mr. Hargrove," she responded, careful to maintain composure despite her racing heart. "Your support for upcoming doctors is commendable." "Commendable is one word, but I see something deeper in the way you approach medicine," he replied, his tone shifting to a more serious note. "Your compassion is palpable. It's no surprise they're honoring you tonight. People like you inspire transformation." Emma fought against the urge to downplay his praise. Instead, she allowed herself to absorb it. I think we all play a role in this transformation, she insisted, surprised by her own conviction. It's about nurturing future generations, after all. The sincerity of her words hung between them, and for a moment she felt a flicker of connection, a shared purpose that transcended accolades. It was both grounding and exhilarating. But a voice inside warned her that validation was temporary. Could she maintain this clarity beyond the walls of the gala? Just then, across the room, she noticed a group of attendees who seemed to be engaged in an impassioned discussion. Their gestures were animated, their brows furrowed. Curiosity pulled her closer. "And we mustn't forget the silent battles," one of them voiced. "Behind every success, there are countless struggles." The words resonated, igniting a spark within her. Emma stood at the edge of the group, feeling the pull of their shared wisdom, and in that moment she realized she had a decision to make. Would she remain a passive participant in this narrative, or would she step into the role of an active contributor, someone who not only shares her journey but invites others to do the same? As she stepped forward, ready to engage, her heart beat louder, not in panic, but in anticipation. This was her opportunity to shine, not only for herself, but for those still in the shadows. The air thickened with anticipation, and she readied herself to step fully into her voice. Would she define this moment on her terms, owning both her vulnerabilities and her strengths? Emma inhaled deeply. Perhaps the answer to her inner turmoil lay not just in achieving recognition, but in daring to expose her journey. Perhaps revealing her struggles was the key to helping others in theirs. But just as she began to open her mouth, she noticed someone entering the room, someone familiar, someone unfathomably unexpected. The facade of calm she had carefully constructed threatened to fracture. The moment of revelation loomed in front of her, but would she embrace it or retreat into her doubts once more? Emma's breath caught in her throat as she spotted him, a face from her past that sent shivers through her entire being. Tom, her former mentor, appeared at the entrance, his presence a jarring reminder of the high expectations she had once placed upon herself. He had believed in her potential even when she struggled to see it within herself. Yet now, as he scanned the room, a sense of panic surged within her. Could she engage with him tonight, on this pedestal of praise and honor? What if he saw the cracks in her facade, the insecurities blooming like weeds beneath the surface? The idyllic image of herself she'd carefully curated was beginning to fray, and she felt exposed, as if every accolade could be stripped away by his judgment. But the whisper of the conversation she had just contemplated beckoned her forward. What if this was more than a moment of vulnerability? What if it was an opportunity for growth? Emma reminded herself of the patience she cherished, countless individuals she had guided through the murky waters of their own struggles. It was time to take that leap of faith, to integrate her past with her present. She had to confront the fear that tethered her to inadequacy. As she closed the distance to Tom, her heart racing, she focused on what he had taught her about authentic engagement. "You are not defined by accolades, but by your actions and the impact you foster in others," he had said. Would tonight be the night she fully embodied those words? "Emma..." His voice reached her before he did, cutting through the ambient chatter of the gala. She halted, meeting his gaze. There was warmth and a hint of concern resting in his features, as if he too sensed her internal war. "Tom," she finally replied, surprised by how steadiness laced her voice. "What a surprise to see you here." "Surprise is one way to put it," he said, his eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and curiosity. "Congratulations on the honor. You've come so far since those early days?" The weight of his acknowledgement settled in her chest, a blend of pride and the all-too-familiar surge of self-doubt. "I'm still figuring it out, Tom," she admitted, vulnerable but genuine. "Some days I feel like an imposter among these remarkable people." "Imposter syndrome is common, especially when you're shining bright," he replied, his gaze steady. "But don't forget, every light casts shadows. What you see in yourself often pales in comparison to the great things you've achieved." His words ignited something inside her, stirring a well of determination she thought had long dried up. "I want to be more than just recognized. I want to contribute meaningfully, inspire others like I've been inspired," she confessed, seeking his approval yet equally frightened of opening up. "I believe you can do it," he said, leaning closer as if to share a secret. "Go ahead, speak your truth. These moments can lead to change, not just for you, but for everyone who listens." Taking a deep breath, Emma decided it was now or never. "I've seen so many silent struggles while working with my patients," Tonight, instead of hiding behind accolades, I want to share the importance of vulnerability. Perhaps we can build bridges instead of walls." Tom's eyes lit up, a smile breaking across his face. That's the Emma I remember. Bold and compassionate. Was this the moment she had been craving? Could she finally step beyond her doubts and embrace both the recognition and the essence of her true self? But as she took a step back, gathering her thoughts to address the gathering, a peculiar unease rippled through her. Just as she was about to voice her commitment to transformation, she felt a sharp tug at her sleeve. It was a young woman, wide-eyed and trembling. "Excuse me," she stammered. "Are you Emma Holt? I need your help. Right now." The urgency of the moment jolted Emma. Her heart raced again, but this time it was not solely from uncertainty, but from a newfound sense of purpose as she shifted focus. Who was this girl? What was the crisis unraveling in that moment? As she looked into the stranger's eyes, she felt the pivot of her life taking another unexpected turn. Would she choose the stage, where opportunity beckoned, or the individual in need, where her true calling lay? The choice loomed over her, adding pressure to an already tension-filled night. Would she confront the unknown within herself and embrace an even deeper journey into her purpose? Emma felt the world fall away as she focused on the trembling girl before her. This was a moment of decision, a beat in the rhythm of her life that could redefine her path. The gala's noise faded into a dull hum, and all that existed was this young woman, urgently imploring her for help. It was an electric moment. A bolt of clarity shot through Emma, illuminating the way forward. "Of course," Emma said softly, her voice steadier than she felt. "What's wrong?" The girl's hands wrung together, her breath quickening. "It's my brother. He's in trouble, and I don't know what to do. I overheard something tonight. I think he could get hurt." Emma's instincts kicked in. She thought of her patients, all the late-night conversations where she had guided them through their darkest moments. Wasn't this what she had sought? An opportunity to truly connect, to make a difference? "Let's step aside and talk," Emma suggested, leading the girl away from the throngs of well-dressed attendees. She gently placed a hand on the girl's shoulder, a grounding gesture meant to convey support. This was not just a situation, it was a chance to demonstrate her commitment to authenticity. Once in a quieter corner, Emma prompted the girl to continue. "What did you hear?" As the girl relayed the details, Emma felt the tensions in her chest ease. Perhaps all her fears of inadequacy could be dismantled, piece by piece, in moments like this. With every word the girl spoke, Emma found herself tapping into a wellspring of confidence she had long thought depleted. Empathy flowed through her, binding her to the person in front of her. "I can't promise anything," Emma said after the girl finished, "but I will help you figure this out." It felt monumental to say it, a promise laced with determination. "Really, you will? Thank you." The girl's eyes glistened with hope, and for the first time in the evening, Emma truly felt a warmth spread within her, dissipating the previous doubts. They strategized together, brainstorming steps Emma could take to reach out to local resources and community support. The urgency of the girl's situation was intensely real, and Emma recognized that every moment spent in consideration drew her deeper into her own purpose, not just as a professional but as a human being who chose to engage with empathy. As they laid out a plan, the sounds of the gala crept back into focus. The laughter, the clinking of glasses, the musical notes winding through the air became a reminder of what was more superficial about that evening. Emma realized that the accolades she had momentarily cherished were secondary to making a difference in someone else's life. Yet amid the clarity, a nagging thought tugged at her. Did this urgent need pull her further from her original path? What if the attention and opportunity she craved slipped away as she focused on something so singular, so deeply personal? When they had crafted a plan, Emma felt a gentle nudge in her gut, urging her to act, not just in response to this girl's plight, but to reflect her broader ambitions. Balancing her commitments would not be easy, but Emma had never been one to shy away from challenges. "Let me call some connections," she said, glancing at the gathering as they prepared to listen to speeches and stories about success. "I'll make sure your brother gets the help he needs." As she took out her phone, a sense of urgency ignited inside her. The stakes felt larger than herself, larger than accolades. Perhaps in choosing this path, she was affirming the profound truths Tom had instilled in her, a commitment to be defined by her actions, not just the admiration of a crowd. However, just as she began making calls, a voice from behind interrupted. "Emma, where did you disappear to?" It was Tom, his gaze questioning, seeking her out amidst the gathering crowd. The moment hung in the balance like a delicate thread, pulling her between two worlds. Would Emma share her revelation, the choice to immerse herself in helping others, or would she retreat back to the safety of recognition? This question loomed large before her, and as she turned to face Tom, the weight of her choice unfurled like a banner caught in the wind. How would this decision not only impact her night but, more significantly, reshape the trajectory of her professional identity forever? The spotlight shifted, and suddenly the weight of expectation bore down on Emma. Tom's curious expression made her heart race. She felt the pressure to articulate her instincts, to explain her transition from her previous motivations towards a more profound purpose. Yet words eluded her as the moment loomed like a trap. Tom stepped closer, his brow furrowed with concern. "Are you okay? You seem distracted." The concern in his voice struck her deeply. I'm fine," she replied, hesitating, the urgency of the girl's plight clashing with her desire for validation. The conflicting emotions twisted her stomach into knots. She wanted to shed light on her raw commitment to help, yet feared the judgment of those around her, especially someone like Tom, whose belief in professionalism was inflected with ambition. In that split second, Emma made a choice. The feeling of the girl's hope rested heavily on her shoulders, urging her to act. "Actually, I was just helping someone in need," she confessed, her voice gaining strength. Tom's eyebrows shot up. "Someone in need at the gala? Who? What's going on?" His reaction confirmed her fear, because it seemed absurd to defy the expectations set at an event meant for luxury and celebration. But there was a gleaming truth in her choice to stay. "A young woman. She's worried about her brother. I'm trying to help them find support." Tom glanced over his shoulder, searching for the girl, his expression shifting from shock to admiration. "That's noble of you, Emma. Noble." The word rang in her ears, an echo that could either bolster her resolve or create an insurmountable divide between who she had been and who she aspired to be. Determined not to falter, she moved to explain. "It's just the right thing to do. Something clicked within me when I spoke to her. I can't ignore that. I want to make a difference." His face darkened subtly, a flicker of disapproval crossing his features. "But this isn't the time for that. We have important people here. Your career is on the line." At that moment, she felt her courage crystallize. Emma clasped her phone tightly, mind racing through the tactical steps she had mapped out for the girl. She needed to make this work, not just for the sake of the promises she had made, but also for her own growth. "Tom, if I don't act in the moment that matters most, then what good is any of this?" The words tumbled out before she could restrain them, unveiling the internal tumult she had worked so hard to reconcile. The silence that stretched between them was thick with tension, Tom's ideals colliding sharply with her new foundation of purpose. Was it possible to succeed both personally and professionally without compromise? He regarded her with a mixture of confusion and grudging respect, and in that glance, she recognized a potential shift, a reflection of the very struggle she felt within herself. Emma took a moment to gather her thoughts. "This isn't just about accolades. Helping this girl and her brother feels like the real reason I pursued this career." Underneath her firm exterior, anxiety bubbled. What if standing firm in her values cost her respect and opportunities? In every pulse of her heart, that nagging fear tried to edge in, but the warmth of the girl's hope surged through her, reminding her of the weight of her commitment. Almost reluctantly, Tom exhaled, his expression softening. "Just make sure this doesn't derail your future." The reassurance in his gaze fell like a balm on her tumultuous thoughts, even as the tension flickered. But whether this moment was a foothold into her future or a crack in her ambitions, it left Emma torn between two paths. She reached for her phone again, knowing what her next steps had to be. The urgency of the situation pulled at her with an intensity she could no longer ignore. But the looming question of how to reconcile her choice with her ambitions stung at her consciousness like a relentless itch. As Emma prepared to push dial, she understood that this decision would turn the tide, not just in her night, but in the very essence of her professional life. The quest for authenticity had begun, but what would it cost her in the end? The realization of unknown consequences lurked close behind her actions, as a low tug of unease began to coil. She was about to step into something bigger than herself, and with every heartbeat, the uncertainty grew heavier. She caught Tom's eye once more, and he seemed to grasp the gravity of her impending move. Would she forge a path that aligned with her values, or would the world of polished glamour pull her back? With one deep breath, she hit dial. The girl was depending on her, and that bond anchored her in that pivotal moment. Yet deep inside, a creeping thought emerged. Was she ready to confront the darker elements of success that threatened to undermine her values? And as the line connected, Emma wondered if she could reconcile who she was with who she was becoming, or if she had already chosen a path that would lead to a revelation she couldn't yet fathom. As the call rang, Emma's thoughts thundered in her mind. With each tone, her heart raced, a relentless tempo underscoring the gravity of what she was about to undertake. This wasn't just a phone call, it was her declaration of intent, a reaffirmation of her values in a world that often devalued them. When the young woman's voice trembled on the other end, the connection solidified this difficult commitment she was making. "Thank you. Thank you for answering." The girl's voice quivered, filled with anxiety and uncertainty. "Of course," Emma replied, her own voice steadier than she felt. "I'm here to help. Can you tell me what you need?" As the girl recounted the details of her brother's situation, an urgent matter of healthcare and family support, Emma quickly organized her thoughts. The clarity of the girl's needs struck a resonant chord within her, forcing Emma to compartmentalize Tom's concerns and her professional fears. "How old is your brother?" Emma asked, deftly jotting down notes on her phone, focusing purely on the urgency of the moment. The more she engaged, the more the weight of Tom's gaze receded. "He's just 20, came the shaky reply. "He needs treatment, and I don't know where to start. I've been trying to figure it out, but—" The girl's voice sustained the urgency, and in it, Emma perceived her own past hesitations reflected back at her. In the depths of vulnerability lay the seeds of empowerment, an idea she had only begun to embrace. "Listen, we can connect with local resources who help with that. I know some people who might be able to offer support. It takes tenacity, but you're not alone in this," Emma assured, her own belief solidifying like concrete with every word. Minutes blended into a focused conversation where Emma offered structured steps, the first connective tissue of her idealism and the tangible assistance she was prepared to provide. With each strategy she articulated, Emma felt an indelible sense of purpose. The haze of societal expectation that had clouded her ambitions began to lift, revealing her aspirations as a true force for good. "Thank you," the girl repeated. "You don't know how much this means to me." "Actually, I do," Emma realized, her voice crisp and clear in the void left by uncertainty. "It matters a great deal. I've been struggling with my own path, and this makes every moment of doubt worth it." As she hung up, the immediate sense of accomplishment rushed through her. Perhaps she could indeed shape a legacy grounded in authenticity. It was a powerful realization, yet amid this newfound clarity came the nagging weight of Tom's voice warning against possible repercussions. "Emma?" Tom's voice pierced her reverie, bringing her back into the gala's extravagant glare. "Yeah?" She turned to face him, the armor of her earlier anxieties now starting to splinter. "Can't you see this is a distraction? You cannot let this define what you're trying to achieve here," he insisted, sliding his hands into his pockets, the embodiment of confidence underlined by concern. But Emma felt emboldened, the fragile shield of doubt beginning to fortify with resolve. "What if this is part of what I'm meant to do? What if helping others in need transcends certain opportunities?" His brow furrowed in confusion, caught off guard by the conviction that radiated from her. Emma seized the moment, pressing into her reflection of self-worth. "I want to take this further, Tom. I've realized I can dedicate my skills, my platform to those who need more than just a helping hand. I believe this can coexist with my career. They're not mutually exclusive." The tension was palpable, a push and pull between two worlds, the polished ambition he represented and her own raw, earnest drive for change. Tom opened his mouth to respond, but the hesitation lingered. Did he grasp the potential shift she was standing poised to encounter? In that instant, she identified the unsettling truth. Every past moment of compromise, every faint hesitance had woven into the complex fabric of her identity. Standing on the precipice of a pivotal decision, a commitment to genuinely steer her career toward combining impact and success, an awareness of the stakes flared inside her. The truth settled heavily in her heart. She was fighting against more than just external expectations. This was an internal battle waged against doubt and fear of failure. Emma felt the stirrings of confidence urging her forward, but the shadows of Tom's words lurked behind her, demanding to be reconciled. As the night unfolded around her, the realization loomed. She was on the brink of not only redefining her professional life, but also illuminating the shadows of her own belief in what she could truly achieve. The question remained, Could this evolving identity withstand the tests of ambition and success? And while deep within, Emma grappled with the myriad implications of her choices, a sudden call from an unknown number blared from her phone, unraveling her thoughts and beckoning her attention. Something within stirred again. Was this another opportunity or a signal that her journey had just begun? Emma stared at her phone, the screen illuminating her face in the dimly lit space. The unknown number was an interruption, yet instinctively she felt it pulsing with potential. Taking a deep breath, she answered. Curiosity tingled in her fingertips. "Hello?" she said, her voice steady, straddling the delicate line between professional poise and personal anticipation. An unfamiliar voice greeted her, warm but businesslike. "Is this Emma Sinclair? I'm Jonathan Hale from Advanced Health Solutions. We've been following your work with community outreach and the recent developments concerning healthcare access." The mention of her efforts stirred something inside Emma. A blend of excitement and pride washed over her. "Yes, that's me. How can I help you? We believe that your insights could be invaluable. We're launching a new initiative aimed at improving healthcare access for underprivileged youths, and we think your perspective would help shape our program," Jonathan continued. Emma's pulse quickened. This was the type of intersection she craved, her growing desire to make a difference, meeting a tangible opportunity for real impact. "That sounds intriguing. What specifically do you need from me?" "Your experience in advocacy would enhance our outreach strategy. It could be as simple as strategic planning or involvement in our focus groups. Our project's success relies heavily on authentic voices, like yours, who understand the challenges faced by youth in our communities." Emma's mind raced. She thought of the call with the girl who needed help for her brother. That call had ignited a flame within her, and now this was another spark, one with a chance to spread far beyond individual interactions. "I'd love to be involved. It aligns perfectly with what I've been grappling with," she replied, her excitement bubbling to the surface. "Fantastic. Let's schedule a meeting to discuss this further. When are you available?" Jonathan's tone shifted, reflecting an eagerness that matched her own. "Tomorrow works for me," Emma said, her voice ringing with newfound confidence. It felt like an opening, a doorway she hadn't expected to find. As they exchanged details, Emma could practically feel the weight she had carried start to lift. A commitment to helping others and her evolving career path could coexist. As the call ended, a renewed sense of purpose enveloped her. She glanced at Tom, who was now engaged in conversation with colleagues, his earlier skepticism festering beneath his polished demeanor. She couldn't shake the curiosity about how he would respond to this new leap she was making. Would he continue to see her endeavors as distractions, or might he come to appreciate the deeper significance they held? Emma was acutely aware that embracing this new opportunity would require her to tread carefully. The precarious balance of her ambitions weighed heavily on her. One misstep could send her tumbling back into the world she had longed to transcend. Then it struck her. She needed more than just Tom's approval. She needed to cultivate a network that understood and supported her journey. That thought ignited a surge of self-awareness. She had always craved the reassurance of external validation. But perhaps it was time to renovate her internal compass, to trust her instincts rather than succumb to others' expectations. Over the next days, Emma dedicated herself to this partnership with unwavering resolve. She immersed herself in organizational meetings and brainstorming sessions, becoming the voice that championed innovative ideas for outreach. Each interaction felt like another patch in the intricate quilt she was weaving from her past experiences. But as the weeks passed, ripples of doubt still swept through her. While she thrived in her newfound role, Tom's lingering doubts reverberated in the back of her mind, a soft but persistent echo questioning whether she had the right to forge this unique path. One afternoon, while reviewing program materials, an incoming message from Jonathan set her heart racing, a proposal for a public launch event to unveil the initiative to potential investors. This was it, a moment that could define her trajectory. With her pulse quickening at the prospect of being in the spotlight, a wave of fear and excitement clouded her judgment. Would she rise to the occasion, or retreat into the shadows, weighed down by self-doubt? As Emma contemplated the implications of her choice, the eyes of those around her piercing through her thoughts, she realized it was time for another call to action. The stakes had risen, and she had to decide whether to embrace this potential turning point, or allow her uncertainties to overtake her conviction. With the launch date inching closer, a cacophony of thoughts collided in her mind. Would she dare to take the spotlight? Or would this be another missed opportunity? The moment of truth loomed just ahead, but one question gnawed at her with unsettling intensity. Was she truly ready to own her voice and create the change she envisioned? The day of the meeting arrived, and Emma felt the weight of expectation settle heavily on her shoulders. She stood before her mirror, adjusting her blazer, scrutinizing every detail of her appearance, as if it could shield her from the doubts creeping in. Each adjustment felt like a small concession to the nervous energy that buzzed within her. With her phone clutched tightly, she reviewed the notes she'd prepared, familiarizing herself with the initiative's goals and statistics, data she believed would lend her credibility. Yet, as she moved through her mental checklist, she could not shake Tom's skeptical voice from her mind, whispering doubts about her standing committee among seasoned professionals. Arriving at the meeting, Emma inhaled deeply, the scent of polished wood and fresh coffee filling her lungs. The room's atmosphere seemed charged, the air thick with ambition, and the faint hint of anxiety shared by everyone present. Seated around the conference table were key players from Advanced Health Solutions, including Jonathan, who greeted her with an encouraging smile. "Glad you could make it, Emma. Your insights are going to be instrumental." His words infused her with a momentary boost of confidence, but it was quickly overshadowed by the array of experienced professionals and their penetrating gazes. As the meeting progressed, she listened, absorbing knowledge from the perspectives of others. The experts discussed logistics and outreach strategy, methods to effectively connect with the underprivileged youth they aimed to serve. Emma's heart raced. This was the crucible where her contributions would forge a meaningful path forward. When it came time for her to share, she hesitated momentarily, the room's attention almost suffocating. But then she recalled her purpose. This opportunity was not just about her, it was about making a difference. As someone who has worked directly with youth in underserved areas, I have seen firsthand the barriers they face. If we can focus our outreach on creating relatable narratives, we can foster trust and encourage those who are often apprehensive to seek help, she articulated, her voice firming with each word. Nods of agreement followed, along with probing questions that challenged her to think deeper. She engaged in a back and forth that sharpened her clarity, revealing competencies she hadn't fully acknowledged until now. Each point she made unveiled not only her understanding of the topic, but also a hidden resilience she hadn't realized she possessed. By the end of the meeting, Emma felt emboldened, the shadows of her insecurities receding slightly. But as she stepped outside, the exhilaration from the meeting faded, and the impending public launch loomed back into consciousness like an ominous cloud. Fueling her uncertainty, she replayed Tom's dismissive comments. They echoed louder now, converging with her fresh confidence, threatening to unravel the progress she had just made. "You're too idealistic," he had said. "This isn't about who you want to help. It's about who you can help while maintaining your career." With a mix of determination and frustration, she resolved that she needed to confront these doubts. She decided to speak with Tom, to lay out her newfound commitment and challenge the narrative he had imposed. Later that day, she invited him to meet and braced herself for their conversation. As she waited for him to arrive, she felt a knot of nervous anticipation twist in her stomach. Would he dismiss her ambitions anew, or come to see the validity of her journey? As the door swung open, revealing Tom, Emma steeled herself. The stakes had shifted. It was time to defend her voice. "I need to talk to you about the direction I'm taking," she began, her heart racing and her determination now solidified. Yet, as she prepared to lay her soul bare, she found herself questioning. Would she still see herself as the architect of change she aspired to be, or would Tom's skepticism cloud the vision she clung to? With the conversation poised to unravel her resolve or fortify it, Emma took a deep breath, ready to step into the unknown. As the sun dipped low over the horizon, Emma stood at the threshold of transformation, a place she could hardly fathom just weeks before. The gala, once a source of dread, now loomed as a defining moment. She had faced her fears, not by stepping away from the limelight, but by entering it wholeheartedly, ready to champion the cause that lit her soul ablaze. The scholarship fund was not mere accolades, it was a call to action, a legacy that could bolster the dreams of countless aspiring doctors just like her. In the weeks following the gala, Emma poured her energy into the newly established initiative, attending community meetings and strategizing outreach programs. Her initiative was gaining traction. Local news featured her work, and suddenly the empathy she had cultivated and the struggles she had faced began to resonate with a wider audience. She was not the imposter wandering through the upscale glitter, but a beacon of hope, showing others the value of compassion-driven action in medicine. Conversing with Jonathan about future projects, Emma took each opportunity to emphasize the importance of vulnerability in healing. We flip the narrative from a charity perspective to one that values the lived experiences of our patients, she argued passionately, her voice unwavering. Our goal should be to give them agency, to show that their stories matter. Months passed, and as Emma's professional networks expanded, so did her confidence. She began incorporating personal reflections into public discussions, breaking the silence on imposter syndrome that had once plagued her. I too have struggled with doubt while discarded within the expectations of success, but it is precisely those moments that shape us into the healers we aspire to be. The first graduation ceremony under her scholarship arrived, and the feeling of accomplishment was palpable. Graduation could feel like another performance, an applause-filled arena. Yet standing there in front of the students clad in caps and gowns, she knew she was not there for mere applause. With each speech, she underscored the importance of vulnerability and empathy in their future practices. Your careers will be defined not just by what you achieve, but by whom you empower along the way, she proclaimed, her voice steady and firm. Richard's attendance was a highlight. He had become a steadfast ally, an advocate for her cause. Seeing her stand confidently, publicly sharing her journey and the scholarship's purpose, Richard nodded with pride. Emma had proven herself capable, pushing past the facade of success to reveal authenticity that truly mattered. The challenging moments had become stepping stones toward fulfilling her purpose. As the event concluded, the students rushed towards her with gratitude and excitement. Each hand she shook and each thank you she received filled her heart with a profound sense of satisfaction and realization. Emma had found her rightful place, not as a mere spectator in a world of accolades, but as an active participant shaping her narrative, supporting others as they ventured into their own paths. Months later, Emma stood before a packed auditorium filled with eager medical students, ready to share her story. As you step into your future, remember this. True success comes not only in personal achievements, but in the passion we cultivate to uplift others. Ours is a profession centered on understanding the human experience, and through authenticity and compassion, we embody the spirit of healing. Empowered and resolute, Emma exited the stage, greeted by applause that resonated with sincerity rather than mere formality. A sense of profound fulfillment enveloped her, the kind that roots itself deep within, the knowledge that she was leaving a lasting impact on the lives of others. In this new chapter, she no longer wavered under the shadows of doubt. Instead, she stood as a testament to the journey of growth, an evolved self, embracing vulnerability as a strength rather than a weakness. Professionally recognized and personally fulfilled, Emma pursued her years with newfound vigor, proving that when we dare to lift others, we elevate ourselves in the process. As she embraced Richard and stepped off the stage, she was met with a surprise, a flood of gratitude from both students and colleagues alike, a tribute reflecting all that she had achieved. "Emma," Richard began, "your journey has inspired us all. It is time for the world to hear your story, not as a surgeon acclaimed, but as a healer who pulses with genuine compassion." Listening to his words, she felt an undeniable sense of accomplishment. The future she envisioned was unfurling before her, like the delicate petals of a blooming flower. This was the moment. She had conquered her fears, learned to accept recognition not as an end, but a means to amplify the voices of those seeking connection. As she turned to face the thoughtful crowd behind her, she knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that she had finally found her place in this intricate tapestry of humanity. Now, as a beacon of light herself, she called upon her audience to share their own stories, to embrace vulnerability as their collective strength, urging them to step forward into their own journeys. Emma Taylor had not only transformed herself, but had sparked a movement where authenticity and compassion interlaced through the fabric of medicine, establishing a legacy far greater than she ever dreamed possible. This was more than recognition. It was a real, substantial triumph, a narrative stretching beyond personal accolades into a community of empowered, empathetic healers, ready to create ripples of change wherever their lives would take them. And now, dear audience, this is the moment to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that can transform lives just like Emma's. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover their own paths. Comment your reactions and theories about how Emma's story ended and what resonates most with your journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because you understand the importance of overcoming personal struggles. Don't wait even one more second to share.